I think it's a little bit better when you can hear me. Welcome. Let's begin today's meeting and hear the public testimony on non-agenda items. Testimony on non-agenda items is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes per topic. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes to address the board, and please remember that no deferral of time is allowed. Also, the board asks that speakers focus on issues and not individuals. And so in no particular order, but I'd like to call up Citizen, Danny Sang, Angela Bass, Wendell Bass, Joanne Fields, Alberto Ochoa, and you can come up to the microphone and speak. Also, let me remind you that when you begin speaking, the green light will come on, the yellow light will come on when you have 1 minute left. And your time is up when the red light appears and the bell rings. Each of you will have 2 minutes. We have quite a bit of speakers, and so...
But if you're limiting it to 15 minutes, you should do what the agenda says, which says 3 minutes. That's the bylaws. It says 3 minutes right there. We don't get very much time.
Okay, so welcome. Again, there will be 2 minutes per speaker.
I don't think that's fair. That doesn't give the public very much chance to say anything.
Go ahead.
You should comply with your bylaws.
Thank you.
Okay, so the bargaining issues with the teacher's contract. I'm very disappointed to learn that the administrative fee, the administrative charge that was being used to pay for district staff that provide services to the retired employees was taken away. So now the taxpayers have to fund these positions out of our tax money, and that money could have been put towards kids. And I have a problem with that because the union charges $1,000 a year. But it went and complained about a small administrative fee that could provide a lot of things for kids that kids need. One of the issues I have is that this school district will spend all this time in the legal office fighting about not letting kids even use the clay that they make their art pieces out of and fire it in a kiln. Instead, the kids that have the money to pay have to, they can fire their products and take them home, their projects, but the other kids have to bundle it up and put it back in a clay pot to be reused. And that's not the purpose of public education. Taxpayers paid for that clay, and the children should be able to use that clay and complete the entire project and just take it home. I don't think there's one taxpayer that begrudges a child his ceramics project. And the same with locks. Kids are told that they don't need locks. Okay? District said we don't have to buy them because the kids don't have to lock them. And then the teachers tell the kids, teachers warn students about theft and to keep their lockers locked. Well, it's your responsibility to provide that safety to our children. And instead, the legal office has said, it's okay for the kids just to put their stuff in the locker and just shut it. Really? You guys have enough claims already for iPhones that have been lost, instruments that have been stolen. That's not a proper way to treat our kids.
Thank you, and we'll direct your comments to the superintendent, and she'll look into them.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Alberto Ochoa. On behalf of the District Latino Advisory to Superintendent Martin, we wish to express our commitment to the Board of Education, in particular to our new president, Ms. Foster, and Superintendent Martin, in working with you in making the policies of Vision 2020, the community-based reform, the A2G curriculum, biliteracy and multilingualism, teacher pipeline, and the forthcoming standards on cultural proficiency in reality. All of these policies, in a holistic manner, must take into account educational equity, access to opportunity, careers, inclusion, and pluralism, and above all, academic rigor. We too believe that every child can thrive if provided a level playing field in which the scales of equality, access, expectations, and justice are balanced regardless of ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic status. Going forward, please know that the Latino community is committed to working with you to create a more safe and just educational system for all of our children. Given the challenging racial and economic conditions facing our nation, there is nevertheless reason to be hopeful and optimistic, knowing that with hope, compassion, and commitment to create a better tomorrow for our children, we will see better days ahead for our children and our culturally and linguistically diverse school communities. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Angela Bass. I'm representing AAAE, but I'm also a community member, and I'm here tonight to celebrate Trustee Marner's position as president. I think as we go forward, it's wonderful to see that everyone has an opportunity to lead this work as board members. And Trustee Trustee Foster, Marnie, has demonstrated herself over the 2 years that she has been on the board as a true advocate for children, as everyone else is. She really, when she talks about all children, she means all children. I think the work that you all, as a board, Superintendent Martin, have done regarding the diversity resolution, regarding the cultural proficiency standards, regarding the fact that you all 4 years ago took on ownership of the Blueprint Task Force to accelerate achievement. What we're asking for is this continued work. We want to ask that you continue to put your feet to the fire, continue to get the community's efforts to put our feet to the fire so that we can ensure that all of our children are educated well. When we talk about all, we should mean all. We're not talking about other people's children, they're all of our children, and we have to recognize that. There is an opportunity in this district to really make some differences. There are great teachers. There are brilliant families and children in this district. There are great administrators. How do we bring everyone together to make sure that that happens well? And it's with your leadership, Superintendent Martin, President Foster, that we continue this process. Our children are here. They're smart, but there are complexities, and we've got to figure out, beyond saying instruction, beyond just saying equity, what are we doing to ensure that the equity happens? We need to serve them well. I have to tell you, Trustee Foster, we believe and we hope that you, along with the board and Superintendent Martin, can do this work, because when we do this work well, we will see achievement accelerate, we will see attendance at an all-time high, and we will see our families and communities join in to make things happen. So I just want to congratulate you, and I just say let's continue to go forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, board. I'm Wendell Bass, retired principal and community member. Marnie Foster, congratulations on being president. I'm here to speak on behalf of African American children, and believe me, I love all children, but specifically I'm speaking from the Blueprint Task Force. And I would say for the first time in 4 years, we're starting to make a little bit of traction. And I think because we've had folks now willing to listen and not be defensive, and began to really try to problem solve around some of the issues. But there still needs to be a greater sense of urgency around our children. Too many are dropping out of school, too many are disinterested. Urgency is more than just simply passing policy. We're most appreciative of the blueprint, that it is now San Diego Unified School District's blueprint. But policy also, I mean, it does its thing. But more important than policy is presence. And for the first time, we saw a larger number of white principals and teachers and leaders come to our meeting at our insistence, because it was starting to become as though this was a black problem for black people to solve. I saw John Evans at one of our meetings maybe 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. Marnie's been consistent with her attendance, but I've seen none of the rest of you. Urgency starts at the very top. It starts with the board, then to the superintendent, and down through the staff. So when you're present, it can tell our community that you're interested, that you really want to see us solve this problem. Too many children, Black, Hispanic, as we know, are failing, and we are responsible for finding solutions for our children, not somebody else's children, as my wife just said. So I encourage strongly each one of you board members to make presence in that community, because there's a bridge there that has been built, but crossing the bridge, as they did at Edmund Pettus Bridge, is important, but it's a two-way crossing. So you've got to go across the bridge, and we'll come across the bridge to meet you around our children. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Danny Sang, and I represent behalf of my classmates at Crawford High School. And I am here today because my fellow classmates have been wondering what is going on with our campus, the facility that we were promised since our freshman year. And I am a senior now, and we've been lost. We've been wondering what's going on, and people are losing doubt. And we are just wondering, when is it going to happen? And why are we the last campus for our campus to be renovated? And we're tired of our friends leaving our campus to go to other campus because of our facility. Majority of them say it's boring, it's bad, and it's literally breaking down into pieces. We can only support so many duct tape on a crack. So we are just wondering why, what's going on, and if there's anything we can do, just we'll be proud. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Decker, and I'm also from Crawford High School. Our main problem with our facility at the moment is our football field. It's been promised to be renovated, like as my peer has said, for the last 4 years. We have conflict with our community members that believe that lights in our stadium would disturb their living habits, and we've been postponing being able to renovate and to get on with our planning because of these issues. And we were sent by our ASB and also by the football coach to just sort of bring the issue back up and make sure it's in the front mind of you guys. And we understand that some of the community might be against it, but if the community is able to give to us, we would be able to, as alumni and as current students, to change how the community views us and how people view Crawford later on. And that's all. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Jessica, and I'm also with Crawford High School, and I'm here to represent my school because, like Danny said before, people are losing hope in this school. There are many children who are teenagers who are leaving because they don't like it. They hate the facility. There are many very negative things that are said upon our school because of the way that we look. And I believe that starting with how a school looks is very important, because if we give our students everything they need to be successful, they will be successful. Most of our schools, most of our students right now are actually going to colleges and having the support from the teachers with very little that they are given. And I believe if we are given more, better facilities and better, just better everything, because right now everything's really, really down, our college acceptance rates are going to go up, our attendance is going to go up, everything's going to go up, because you have to be able to show everyone else that you care, no matter where they're from, and no matter if they're in middle-class families, poor families, and most of us are poor. And if parents see that we are not being looked at and being able to, and you guys don't give us what we need, then they feel it as an insult, and they're very upset and hurt because we don't get as much attention as other schools do. And I also want to say that experiencing all this at Crawford is really upsetting, because I know the teachers, they're great. I know the students, they're great. There's some there that, obviously don't care, but as a student, I would like to see my school succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Crawford students, for your comments. I'm sure that our superintendent will be looking into that and provide you an update on the timeline. Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Superintendent Martin, and our new trustee, Michael McQuarrie. Welcome to the board. My name is Joanne Fields. I'm the director of the District E Cabinet, also a member of the Filipino Educators Association, and I'm just here to just welcome all of you. I'm so excited for your new role, President Foster, but I know with your new role there's a lot more responsibility added to your plate, so I just publicly want to say I'm here for all of our school board members, superintendent, and all those that care for our kids in San Diego Unified. I want to switch gears a little bit. In light of the upcoming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and this year being the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, I hope you may find in your schedule to watch the movie Selma, and also consider having it incorporated somehow in history and or government classes. I think it's a fabulous way for our children to learn this important era of history, but more importantly, that it's still so relevant today. And I think for them to see all the sacrifices that were made versus just a small paragraph that they might see in their textbook, I think this is a way that we can stir more civic engagement amongst our young people. Thank you.
We still have left Karma Sanchez, Rob Wilbur, Ethel Larkins, Howard Singer, Laura Romero, Anne Marie Haney, Ellen Hecker. I can't read the letters, but I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Christy Crisano, Randy Rose, Doc Stater, and also Gary Soderbeck and Jennifer Ragua. Come up in any order.
Hello, board. My name is Karma Sanchez, and I'm here along with a small group of Longfellow student community members. We are, parents of the students. We are here tonight to talk to you. In fact, it's wonderful that Lee Dolgroff is here. We're here tonight to talk to you also about our construction project. As a math teacher myself, I just love to see the Crawford students up here and representing their school doing this rather than us parents having to come in. They're here doing it themselves. We have a similar issue where our construction has been delayed. Prop S monies did not get spent on our school, and we know that we are not the only school that happened to, and we do have a group here tonight to speak to you about the Prop Z monies and the delays that have recently occurred. We were supposed to start construction this year, and it looks like it's going to not happen for a little while, and I'm hoping, it looks like Lee might have an update for us as well this evening. The part that I want to talk to you guys about, I'm the PTO member that's in charge on the board of fundraising, and we had worked very hard to secure some funding for some specific emergency items on our campus. Number one, to clean the restrooms, which are in such horrible condition that some of the children won't even use. And we were on our way to go in and spend PTO earned monies to do that, and then there was a union issue. There was an issue with if it's the school's responsibility if something like that needs to be done. And here we are, where the construction's several years out now, and we have these emergency bathroom conditions. We do have a parent that's so irate that she's ready, her daughter's one of the ones that won't use it, she's ready to go to Turco Files, she's ready to go to the news. And as a board, with a special relationship with our principal, the last thing we want to see is our school on the news in a negative aspect when we work so hard to make our school amazing. We have an opposite issue of Crawford, of lower enrollment. We have more people every year that want to come to our school. We just don't have the space for them because we need this construction to get more middle school classrooms. So we don't want to see the school in a negative light. We're hoping that there's something to get us those bathroom cleanings sooner, because the 3-year timeline or 2-year or whatever Lee can help us with, it needs to happen sooner to stop these parents from reporting us. Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Laura Romero, and I'm here to ask you guys, my son goes to La Jolla High School, and we're needing a math tutor. And so I'm going on my 2nd year. I've been struggling and trying to get him a tutor. It seems like the teachers are tired of me asking, but I mean, I haven't been able to get a tutor for him. And today when I spoke with one of the math teachers, and I asked, I need help to get a tutor for my son, can you recommend someone? I was told that, yes, he recommended a tutor, but it's going to cost me $45 an hour to have a tutor for my son. And again, this is the 2nd year that I've asked for help. And this is ridiculous. I'm on a short budget. I don't have extra money to pay for a tutor and pay $45. So I'm asking you guys to please give us a tutor at our site that could help the children. I know I'm not the only mom that's having trouble with their children in math and trying to get their scores high enough, because our district, and when it comes to math, it's very low. The kids are testing very low, and I'm getting frustrated. I don't know what to do. So I'm asking you guys for some help. Thank you.
We'll direct the superintendent to look into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. President Foster, welcome aboard, Dr. Mike. My name is Rob Wilbur, and I am the CSEA Paraeducator Labor Relations Representative. I'm here tonight for reasons that sadden me, and I think maybe you may know the reason for my sadness. Standing here with me is Ms. Mary Galamzadeh, a 28-year employee of the district, who after 28 years of service to this district submitted her intention to retire. Through a simple error, she put an effective retirement date of September 30th instead of the following day, October 1. And it's that October 1 date, contractually, that kicks in a longevity increment for long-term employees. For Mary, that amounted to a whopping $1,407. I received word that this matter was brought to the board's attention and it was rejected. As of yesterday afternoon, I sent an email that you may or may not have received to District's Council and Superintendent Martin. If you haven't received it, I would like to read what I sent last night. It summarizes my position and Mary's very clearly. Dear, to whom it was addressed, you asked my indulgence to not publicly disparage the board at last month's board meeting, as they were unaware of this matter. I deferred to allow you that opportunity. Judging from Human Resources response below, you obviously have engaged the board in the interim, and their decision remains the same, relying upon your tenuous gift of public funds defense. It is truly a sad state of affairs when the students of San Diego Unified are led by a board that has lost their moral compass, who rejects doing the right thing in favor of what they can legally get away with. Since law school, I thought the law concerned itself not only with the letter of the law, but with equity and fairness. I hope the board understands that what is arguably legally justifiable may also be a source of public shame.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I'm Jennifer Ragusa. I'm a parent and an active board member on the Longfellow PTO. We're here to discuss the construction delays for Prop S and Z at Longfellow. I'd like to read you a few quotes and comments from your own district representatives. August 2013, Superintendent Cindy Martin visited our Longfellow campus and was shocked to learn that no construction money was spent on Longfellow since 2003, Prop MM. On January 13th, 2014, Lee Dolgarath said, quote, "It is a done deal with construction starting in 2015. It has been approved and voted on by the board," end quote. On September 12, 2014, Lee Dolgarath said, quote, "We are locked in on the scope. On June 3rd, the board approved the plan. Longfellow is on the 2015 bond sale, and the money will arrive in August 2015. Anytime after that, we can order your project to start construction." End quote. He continued to say, "I want to keep my promise that I made to the community." Here's the timeline that was promised on multiple community meetings to Longfellow. Construction was to start in March of 2015. Later, it was moved to mid to late 2015. All of the meetings held with the community referred to a completion date of mid-2017, with students returning to a newly updated school that we were promised by fall 2017. Here are our three main priorities: our bathrooms, our air conditioning, and the delay. The delay is unacceptable. We were promised on multiple occasions that the construction would begin in 2015 and that the latest start date would be January of 2016. We have documentations, quotes, meetings, plans, photos. All of this was supplied to us through the district. We're asking you to come and help our school. Our community is large and strong and ready to speak up. We want to support and stand behind our principal and you, the school board, but give us reason to do so. We will speak up to make sure that Longfellow receives the necessary funding, expedited timing, and the updates that were promised to us. We request that you have a response to our school by this week on Friday regarding the current timelines. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Randy Rose. I'm part of the Longfellow community. My daughter is a second grader at Escuela Longfellow. And as you just heard, we have not received any funds since 2003, any prop funds. The bathrooms at the school, the construction delays, it's unacceptable. We were promised that they would start in March. They need to start. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, board, for listening to us. My name is Christy Chiscano. I am a teacher in the public school system, but I am also a parent and a taxpayer with a child who's in second grade at Longfellow, as well as a kindergartner who is coming in next year. This delay of our construction is unacceptable, and we've not had any valid reasons as to why this did occur. In addition, our air conditioning modernization was rolled into our modernization project, so now our air conditioning is delayed. Those bungalows get over 85 degrees. I know of a kindergartner last year that nearly went into heat exhaustion. This is unacceptable. We need something looked into. We need this to start, and we need answers, please.
On a happy note, excuse me, I'm Anne Marie Haney. I would like to thank you for the success much of which you've been responsible, and that is that we have more children in our school district receiving music instruction, specifically instrumental music instruction, since I became involved many years ago. And it's a double-edged report because we have so many students who now have to share instruments, even though CCMS has more than 1,400, well over 1,400 instruments out on loan. We still have students coming to school and unable to take an instrument home. So in about 2007, we lost our instrument purchase fund out of the Vision Forming Arts Fund. We need help getting some more instruments for these children. And ideally, because we have huge classes now, everyone wants to be in on it, and the principals want all of their children to have the chance. So we have enormous classes where the teachers really don't have an opportunity to give the children the individual attention they need. So if you could squeeze out a position or two for those elementary schools, they serve the whole district, that would be a godsend. Also, if you've been to a parade and missed our school bands, or you've seen them in school t-shirts, and the other district schools have the big hats and all the braid, that's because we lost the uniform purchase rotation. So little by little, if we can begin to fill in the gaps of the programs that serve our children. The teachers are now buying their school instruction books, their music books, for the ones who can't bring them. So any help we can have with that budget, Superintendent Martin, we'll be talking soon. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Board. My name is Doug Dockstetter. I have 2 students at Longfellow. I'm a parent there. I've had the kids there for 4 years. And I'm also here to try and tell you to please not delay the construction. I'm a member of the Men's Club, which works with the Parents Teachers Organization, and we routinely go in sometimes on the weekends to help out with some of the projects that are around the school, and I've just found some of the conditions deplorable, besides the stories that I hear from my daughters talking about the just the general area and how unhealthy it is, in the bathrooms mainly, but also with everything that's going on at the school. So please, if you can speed up the process and the construction, we'd all appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. My name is Elon Hecker. I'm the parent of 3 children at Longfellow. I literally dropped everything and have been absolutely shocked and dismayed when I heard that we were going to have a delay in the reconstruction project at Longfellow. I once again want to just bring attention to this very serious matter. Thank you.
President Foster, Superintendent Martin, board members. My name is Howard G. Singer, and I'm on the board of the San Diego County Diversity and Inclusiveness Group. This is an organization that believes in diversity, inclusiveness, and tolerance. It's an embarrassment to be here in the 2nd decade of the 21st century. However, the San Diego Unified School District is allowing students to participate in an event in the San Diego community of La Jolla called the La Jolla Christmas Parade. Now, every other community in the city of San Diego has a faith-neutral name. However, because of the past of La Jolla, they continue to call it the Christmas Parade. The audience and the viewers at home should know that from 1887 to 1960, African Americans, foreign nationals, and Jews were barred from purchasing houses or real property in La Jolla. The only reason those minorities are there today is because of the University of California at San Diego. Our organization, the San Diego County Diversity and Inclusiveness Group, will be happy to cooperate with your staff in any way, shape, or form that you would like us to, because we do not want students to practice their music or their marching during school hours and to be entered into an event that discriminates, shows prejudice, and intolerance. We don't teach prejudice, discrimination, and intolerance in our school because, as all of you have said, we're better than that. Students first. We would like to put the students first Thank you very much.
I called Ethel Larkins, so I think that, okay, if there are no other public testimony, and she would have been the last one. This completes non-agenda public testimony. Thank you all for taking the time to speak to the board and superintendent today. We appreciate your comments, and please know that your input helps us to better serve our students. At this time, we're going to have the Air Force JROTC color guard from Scripps Ranch High School present the colors. Please stand.
Color guard, who? Order, who? Left, who? Capri, colors.
Ready? Begin.
Present, colors.
Ready? Begin again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Capri, colors. Order, colors. Right, he. Port, who. Forward, march.
Wait. Okay, you may be seated. Okay, thank you. I would like to welcome everyone present today and those watching the broadcast and call the January 13th, 2015 regular meeting to order with all board members present. If you wish to address the board today and your name is not on the blue speaker list located at both entrances of the auditorium and you have not already submitted a request for public testimony, please complete the form and submit to Cheryl Ward, to my right, our board action officer. Speakers on agenda items will be called on to speak during the discussion of agenda items. Once the discussion begins on an item, no additional public speaker requests will be accepted by the board. Public testimony on agenda items is limited to a maximum of 20 minutes per consent or action item, allowing for a maximum of 10 minutes per opposing side. Non-agenda item testimony was heard today at 5 p.m. and will also be heard at the end of the meeting. At this time, I'd like to have the ASB representatives to the board introduce themselves. Please tell us about yourself and what's going on at your school, both academically and socially. And today, I guess we have just Deja Fields, but our chair, so and from SCPA, my area. So woo-woo.
Thank you. So at my school, we are doing the MLK ASB Challenge Food Drive, and it's from January 18th through February 2nd. So if you have any cans, come on to SCPA and drop them off. We are also having our first Battle of the Majors, and it's January 26th through January 30th at 11:35 through 12:15, and this is where all the different majors will do a little performance during lunch. So come out and come see all of that. And we are also planning our ASB ball, which will be March 20th. And our community blood drive is January 27th. So if you're 17 and older, just come on to SCPA and donate and save a life. Thank you.
Today we have a student presentation from I just need to keep it on, right? So we have a student presentation today from Pershing Middle School Advanced String Orchestra. Trustee Beiser, would you like to have the pleasure of introducing
Yes, I'm very excited to have students from Pershing Middle School here this evening for a student presentation. I'd like to introduce the principal, Susan Levy, and the musical director, Barbara Toombs, to get us started. Should we, board members and superintendent, take to the audience so we can observe this student performance? Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Martin, and all of our guests tonight. We're very pleased and honored to be able to present to you our advanced string orchestra under the direction, and I should say expert direction, of Mrs. Barbara Toombs, an incredible music teacher. Our full-time program at Pershing, we have a full-time music program of orchestra, band, beginning beginning orchestra, advanced orchestra, and chorus. We also have an after-school course for our sixth graders. We focus very strongly on the STEM program. We have a double M in our STEM, S-T-E-M-M, science, technology, engineering, math, and music. So we would like to present to you 4 numbers. One is called Bach Minuets, Night Ride, Frog in a Tree, and a Cello Squadron. We hope you enjoy the performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Board Member Beiser.
Barbara, thank you. That was nice.
Okay, that was a wonderful performance by Pershing Middle School Advanced String Orchestra. And now we are on to adopting the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. All vote. This is my button. Passes unanimously. Woo-hoo. Okay. Report of closed session action and superintendent board information reports.
She stepped away, but I don't believe she has anything to report out today.
Okay, perfect. All right. So administrative assignments.
Thank you, President Foster. I have one management appointment to announce tonight. The principal of Hickman Elementary School, Toby Pace.
Okay, so now we're on to superintendent information report.
Thank you, Trustee Foster. I'm focusing tonight my superintendent information report on advocacy and equity in San Diego Unified School District, and very timely with our budget, the governor's budget being released on Friday, and the advocacy efforts by this board, and by the work that we're doing here, both here locally and in Sacramento. Advocacy is very important with equity at the center of it. So we'll be focusing my comments on that, but also each time I present, it's important that I refer to our board's priorities and the areas of focus. A very significant area of focus that you've identified as last year ended, as we launched this year, was our high school transformation and our professional development. So what we have here is a picture from one of our high schools, some of the professional development, the ERO system that we use to have people sign up for professional development, and that's at the center and the heart of what we're doing. And in December, I had our area superintendents, along with Cheryl Hiblin from the High School Resource Office, hosted a professional development one day for middle school principals and one day for high school principals, looking at master schedule and how we design master schedules with students' needs in mind, with equity in mind, and that to think that our principals spent a full day learning together with the area superintendent in teams on designing the master schedule for the 15-16 school year. They were working on it in December 2014. That's the kind of thoughtful planning that's required to truly build a master schedule that meets the needs of our students. In the shadow of the presentation that we had around our A through G implementation and our on-track status, what it actually takes, it really begins with designing a master schedule, and that the principals need to lead that work. That work is not delegated to a counselor or delegated to a vice principal. That is led by the area superintendent and the principal, and then the staff to support that. So the professional development focus is meant to professional development across the system, but that was a very significant full day that we had with the middle school principals and high school principals. I want to thank High School Resource Office and Leadership and Learning and so many people that were involved in developing a day that was meaningful and it was not theoretical work where we just talked about what should be a master schedule, what really is equity, and talk about it. We actually pulled out master schedules, looked at the kids that were being enrolled, looked at the projected enrollments, and built a master schedule, not from theory, but from real students, real kids, real time. What do we currently have? What do we need to be able to make sure all our kids are ready to graduate A through G? And it starts with that process and that build. In terms of advocacy, we were at the California School Boards Association meeting in San Francisco on December 15th that weekend. Several of you were up there, and thanks to President Foster and Vice President Evans, we led a conversation on urban district advocacy and what does it look like when the large urban districts, Fresno Unified, San Francisco Unified, LA Unified, Sacramento, Oakland, for example, came together and had a conversation around adequacy and adequacy of funding at the state level. We saw the governor's budget proposal. We are very grateful for the $4 billion that's being invested in LCFF and the $1.1 billion in paying back the reimbursed mandates. That was something we advocated for. Martha Alvarez, I want to give great thanks to Martha, who I know is watching up in Sacramento and pays close attention to what's happening here and leads a voice up there. That advocacy that she helped lead did work, and the $1.1 billion in mandates came back, and we saw that in the governor's budget proposal. So it's nice to know that your leadership as a board is set on a clear vision, and that when we advocate and we use a very strategic process with a clear vision, our voice is heard, and there's real evidence of that to the tune of real money coming back to our schools. I'll caution the $1.1 billion is one-time money, but that was money that had we not advocated, that may not have come to us, and we will. There's been an effort to a suggestion that's focused on continued implementation of Common Core and the fiscal restraint that's necessary with one-time dollars. But in the context of the money that has been allocated in the governor's proposal, this conversation that we had at CSBA was important because we're working on leading, San Diego Unified is leading a definition on what it means to adequately fund our schools. What would happen if we fully funded an adequate amount of resources to our schools today? We could deliver on equity, and we want to have that conversation up and down the state, and we met during the winter vacation. Trustee Foster and Dr. Evans and I met with Assemblymember Weber and Senator Marty Block, and we're calling for adequacy hearings up at the state level that we hope to have happen end of January, beginning of February, and we're putting together a template at our district that defines current funding and what would it take to have adequate funding. And you can go through any level of, you can talk about our class sizes and teachers, you could talk about counselors and nurses, support services, landscaping services, custodial services, district operations. What are all of the things that it takes to adequately fund public education in our state? And we believe that an instructional leader should lead that conversation, that we don't want an ideological conversation around going from 46th in the nation in per pupil funding, which California currently is, to, I don't know, what do we say, we want to be 10th or 15th or 20th? We don't want to just have that conversation about move us up on the ranks. We want to say this is what it takes. This will roll up into a number at the district level, and it'll roll up into a number at the state level. So I know what you see here is a slide of just the districts that we're working with. San Diego's leading that voice, and we were very pleased to have the engagement of Senator Block in examining what it would look like to be able to have a statewide conversation of what it would really take to adequately fund our schools. I appreciate the initial conversation with SDEA and President Lindsey Birmingham, with PTA President Derby Pattengill, around having our teachers union, having our parents group join us in the conversation of defining at a state level what does adequate funding look like, that we all need to lead that conversation together. But it started with your leadership, Dr. Evans, and Trustee Foster at the Urban District Advocacy conversation that we had at CSBA in December, and we're going to continue along that advocacy line. Continuing with community engagement and deciding priorities. When the governor's budget came out, we already knew what we were planning to spend our money on, not in a final form, but our priorities are something that we continually talk about through our LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan process. On last Saturday at Sarah High School, this was our planning team meeting, and we had district staff and members from multiple stakeholder interest groups and making sure that we're continuing to engage and building our LCAP, looking at what's working, looking at what the next steps are going to be, and staying involved in that process. So Trustee Foster probably will talk about that in her report too. She joined us there that day and wanted to see that information go out to more than just the planning team meeting that was there. And then finally, my instructional site visits are continuing at Hamilton. I was able to visit Hamilton School right before the winter break and really impressed with what I'm seeing. I had just been to Hamilton right before, at the end of last year, I think it was in June or July, and I was back just a few months later, and I've seen some significant changes in the climate there, the implementation of Common Core, the commitment to the district learning cycles, and of course there's a big construction project going on. So sometimes when you go back to a school as a superintendent and there's not a lot of time from one visit to the next, it's hard to see big changes. It's ongoing work, and our work is always ongoing work. I was pleased to see some of the changes that I saw happen in the classrooms and with the leadership there, and especially the climate changing and implementation of Common Core with the focus on our learning cycles. And then just yesterday I visited Loma Portal Elementary School, and we have a principal there who's only been there 5 months, so talk about time factor and changing and being able to implement change or putting a vision in place. I was very impressed with the leadership of a new principal, brand new principal, Rebecca Penn. After only 5 months, I see principal, staff, parents coming together around the common vision, where their school has been, where their school currently is, and more importantly, what their future holds for Loma Portal. Rebecca's a very thoughtful leader about how she engages her staff, her community, and what the next steps might be. Rebecca comes from Joyner. She was a resource teacher, support teacher at Joyner, and she was actually a vice principal at Central for a very short time. Right after I left there, I didn't have the opportunity to work with her, but she took that experience from Central as a vice principal and is now 5 months into her leadership at Loma Portal, and I'm pleased. It's a school that's small enough that on that visit I could actually go into every single classroom. I'm sorry to the one teacher who was out at recess. I missed those kids, but was able to get into every classroom, and you get a landscape feel when you're able to do that, and it really allows the chief of staff and I to make sure that the supports that we're providing are actually working, and the degree to which they're not, we get real-time feedback when we're at a school. It was the first official formal visit with the new area superintendent, Kimmy Lochtefeld. She was hosting the visit with her principal, and we got to see Kimmy in her new role, and I appreciated that opportunity as well. So instructional site visits, as always, are continuing, and they're the first thing on the calendar, and they are the most important thing that I can do to make sure that I'm leading our district and our students from a place of real understanding of what's happening in our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Martin. And at this time, we'll have board reports. So who'd like to go first?
All right, new kid on the block, thanks. I've visited the Mission Bay cluster to meet with the teachers and the parents and the folks that are there, and we met at the Crown Point Junior Music Academy. It's a new location for them, and it's a real thrill to be there to hear what they're doing, what they're discussing. I also had a tour of the Kearney High School and visited all 4 campuses, was led by students, and ended up meeting with the parents and community stakeholders, and it was just a marvelous visit. It allows me to get a sense of what is happening. It gives me context. It gives me a perspective. It allows me to see the schools, and so when we're discussing issues, and I can have a much better sense of where they are. I've also had a tour of the La Jolla High School campus by the principal, and at his invitation, and had a chance to see some classrooms and get a sense as what's happening at that part of my district. I also swung by Ocean Beach at the invitation of the principal there, and we set up a time for me to go out and visit that school and talk with them. I'll be meeting with the clusters this week. So we've got Kearney and we've got La Jolla cluster. I'll be visiting High Tech High. I was invited to come out there. I'll be there tomorrow. and I was invited to get back to Ocean Beach next week, Tuesday. So I'm getting a sense of the district, and as people invite me to come out, I'm very, very happy to do that. It allows me to get a better sense of who we are and what we're about, and so that when I'm here and hearing issues and concerns and questions, I have integrity, I have experience, and I've been able to walk those campuses and have an opportunity to give perspective on the discussion. I also heard Mr. Bass today make an invitation, and I would accept that and hope to come out and spend some time there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, President Foster. I'd just like to take a couple moments to comment on the new board member to my left. It's always good to have a new person on the board and a new perspective, and one of the things we do before the board meeting is read through voluminous stacks of information that we have to be aware of before the board meeting. And right here I have just several pages of questions that Mr. McQuarrie sent to the staff. And I think this is important because we can get very sort of set in our ways and accepting things and not asking a lot of questions. And it's good to have a new person coming in and asking a lot of questions. I remember when I first got on the board and I was submitting lots of questions, and one particular administrator at that time said, "Why do you have to ask so many questions?" But you know, I mean, there's a question here about how Proposition 98 works, and I can't say that anyone in California fully understands how Proposition 98 works. So it's a pretty viable question from that to Title I and everything else. So just once again, welcome on board.
Thank you.
Any other board member reports?
Yeah, I just want to comment really briefly on the release of the governor's proposed budget. This is by far the most hopeful budget that we've seen since the recession began in 2008, and gives us a real sense that we are pulling out of the crisis that we've been in for the last several years, and the governor is clearly honoring his commitment not only to accelerate getting us to pre-recession levels as quickly as possible, but also through the leadership of Martha Alvarez and our district, recognizing the past debt, particularly in the form of mandated costs that have not been reimbursed for 20 years, reflected in the budget. And so I do absolutely thank President Foster, Vice President Evans, Superintendent Martin for the work that you've been doing in leading, now pulling together advocacy at the state level with the other large urban districts. And I also just want to acknowledge, as we're starting to come out of this process, how grateful we all should be to this entire community in San Diego, this school community. First of all, everybody here owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the employees of this district who have made incredible sacrifice over the last several years to allow us to keep our class sizes as low as they could be, to allow us to keep our programs and services and level of support for our students as high as could be in the most difficult financial situation that the district has ever faced. And our entire community, you know, at a time that I know that there's discussion at the state level about how to start to invest in facilities again, and it's a difficult conversation that the state doesn't yet have an adequate answer to. However, in San Diego, our taxpayers have made tremendous sacrifice and contribution to creating what's really one of the largest public works projects in the state of California with our bond program, our Prop 8 and our Prop Z. Voters in this district said during a time of real crisis when families were struggling that they were willing to actually increase their property taxes, pay more out of their pocket so that our facilities could be adequately addressed. And so we've seen sacrifice on the part of our parents, on the part of our taxpayers, certainly on the part of our employees, and of course on the part of our students, who during a time of real scarcity of resources and real challenges at their schools have actually improved outcomes at a rate that we have not seen before. And we've talked in the past about the increase in everything from reading scores and math scores and science scores on standardized tests, but also students increasing their attendance, decreasing our dropout rates, and more students taking part in extracurricular activities like music, as Anne-Marie Haney addressed. So we've got an experience now where in a time of real crisis, our community has pulled together, and because of that sacrifice, we're starting to pull out, and we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. And now what we need to do is take that shared experience where we can work together to confront crisis and turn that into an experience of us coming together to create generational opportunity in this district and in this state through this conversation about adequacy for public schools. We can come together and figure out how to invest in our public schools in a way that we haven't done in several generations in this state. And I'm proud to be part of this community, and I look forward to us working together towards that challenge.
Okay. I would I have to share a few things. I attended the Educational Excellence Steering Committee, the DEEP program steering committee this past Friday, and this is a special I guess collaborative group, I would say, because they came together, more than 15 organizations came together to provide a summer program to prevent summer learning loss, and around literacy, Summer Readers, Future Leaders program. And so now their steering committee is really talking about that collective impact and looking at when we have spring break, how they can come together and provide enrichment activities for our students, working collaboratively with the district. And so I had the opportunity to meet with them this past week, and I'm just appreciative. I just want to call out, and I'm appreciative of their work. I also had the opportunity to speak at the 5th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Family Celebration and Sports Fest at the only park in San Diego that I know of that's called Martin Luther King Park. And so I was in really good company because Assemblywoman Shirley Weber was there, council members Myrtle Cole and Todd Gloria, were there, and it was hosted by the Park and Rec and Ground Up, and we had special entertainment from the students of Morris and Lincoln High School, and we had a basketball showcase, a competition between Morris and Lincoln High School, and so that was very fun and good to experience. Also, I attended, as you may have heard earlier, the acceleration of the African American Student Achievement Task Force just last night. And really, it was a breakthrough because the data that we were able to present, the students that were able to provide testimony about and best practices that were shared around mentorship programs and the impact, the immediate impact that had on our students, suggest just some of the things that we learned just suggest great possibilities. And again, you hear this a lot when we talk about collective impact, but there were teachers, parents, students, community organizations in the room that were just really eager and desperate to talk about, well, what can I do? That's the spirit that I'm seeing every day. What can we do? And as a district, what I'm proud of is that we're providing an opportunity for folks to plug in and co-create in a meaningful way. So I wanted to call that out as well. And then I also had the opportunity to visit my babies, which I'm talking about students. I should, well, yeah. My babies are my students at Horton Elementary School, Webster, and Valencia Park, and I was able to visit them right before our winter break, and so I was very excited about that whenever we're able to touch students and staff and faculty at any campus. So that's my report, and we are going to move on to student instructional matters, and we're going to have our Associated Student Bodies President's report from none other than Deja Fields.
Thank you. Okay, Sam Sweeney and myself attended a very informative meeting, the LCAP meeting that was held January 7th. And not only did we learn a lot, but we had a lot of input, and we were able to use our voices to represent the students of San Diego School District. And myself and all the other ASB presidents will be attending the Laurels for Leaders Luncheon, which will be February 17th, and I'm looking forward to that. And our next president's meeting is tomorrow from 3 to 5 here, and we will be discussing and preparing for our next Student Congress meeting, which is February 18th. So I look forward to seeing you all there, and it will be held here. And that's all. Thank you.
Good job. Very good, very good. So we're on to E2, 2015-16 Title I eligibility ranking for San Diego Unified School District. This is the first reading. Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. As you said, this is the first reading of our Title I eligibility ranking, and we're engaging our DAC on this. And the basic theory of action is the same as last year, the same allocation to our school sites. We receive approximately, the numbers change a little bit, but we're projected to receive $37 million in the total Title I apportionment, and $15.4 million is allocated to the schools. We're not planning to change that allocation. You see the eligibility ranking. We're using the same theory of action that we've used last year that was set out by this board actually the year before I began, I believe, continued the same theory of action of a sliding scale on how we allocate the Title I funds to our schools. This information was shared with the DAC on November 19th, again on December 17th, and the DAC members have did not request any changes to the school allocations of the Title I overall budget. They do, however, have some input. You received a letter from the DAC chair on some of the input from the executive board requesting some information that I will go ahead and read that so that it's from Amy Redding, the DAC chairperson, who couldn't be here tonight. And she, of course, will be here when we have the final approval, but for the first reading, this was the input from DAC. She says, at the December DAC meeting, the district brought forward the proposed Title I central budget and the Title I rankings for the next school year. The DAC representatives will be taking this information to their SSCs to get further input. The DAC representatives will bring back SSC input to the January 21st general DAC meeting and take a formal position on the rankings and the Title I central budget. The one item where they did take a position was to increase all school sites allocations with the money coming from possible savings in the Title I central budget. And then they went on to say where they could identify possible savings in the Title I central budget, and our staff is looking at their recommendations that came from the DAC executive board. I should say that when they had not requested any changes in school allocations, they are continuing to engage in another meeting to take an official position. Some of the things that they said to look at in our central office Title I expenditures, they want more resources for translation office. They want us to look at that. They're looking for more input still from their committee. They are asking that we continue to look at the way we provide support to our parents and look at a different model, considering the Ballard Center model that we have right now. They're looking for a model that's more localized and more maybe cluster-based, and if there's some training or some support in the way we use Title I parent education dollars, there's some input that they've requested there. They're calling it revamping parent involvement, and the DAC wants to work with different district staff, and that's a board priority, it's a superintendent priority, and to align our parent and community engagement processes in a way that makes it more localized is something we're already taking on as a staff, and the DAC executive board has requested that. They've also requested that we audit all the FTEs paid out of Title I to be sure that the salaries are fully supporting Title I students, and if they're not currently doing that, they want us to take another look at that and maybe switch to general fund dollars. And then they had a comment about fund the private schools to the level only required by the law. So they looked at the required amount of support that we're providing to private schools and said, are we doing more than what we're required? So that was some very important input. Our staff is engaged in that input in an ongoing conversation. And of course, tonight the process is a first reading, so we're engaging the DAC with what that input would be. So when we come back with a final reading, we're able to incorporate that input and where we believe our next steps are. The overall Title I allocation ranking is the main point of this item, and you can see the rankings there. If a school sees a different amount in their per student allocation, it's not because we increased or decreased. It's because the numbers of Title I students may have changed. The total number that's included in the allocation, if a school's percent of Title I students or the total amount in the district changed, the numbers have changed slightly just because of the way we divide the dollars, but the amount is the same, the $15.4 million of the total budget going to school sites. That's it for the first reading.
Being that there's no public testimony, are there any board discussions or questions on what has been shared? Yes.
I just had a question. And this came out of Superintendent Martin. You and I had a conversation about San Diego High School, and there was a concern that the Title I, the percentage of students qualifying for free and reduced lunch had been set several years ago and not updated. What is the process for us annually updating the percentage of students at a school?
Before I answer that and you say it a little bit wrong, if there's staff that can come and answer that, that would be better, or I'd want to defer and come back, because
absolutely,
I think I know the process, I've lived the process, but I would not want to misstate that in this forum. So is there any staff that could say that process, or is it best to come back? Nope, sounds like Debbie Foster would like to come up and answer. Not to put you on the spot, Ms. Foster.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
It looks like maybe one of the schools that you're referring to is a provision school, which means they've been locked into a certain percentage. If we feel that the makeup of that school has changed, we can work with our food services department. They'll reevaluate the numbers, and then we could increase their percentage.
Okay. What would trigger that reevaluation?
The school coming forward to us.
Okay.
And so knowing that particular school, but if there's any others, and every once in a while we do, something's happened in that neighborhood where they feel that we should reevaluate those numbers.
Right.
And so we can do that with help of food services.
Okay, and maybe what we could do is give some direction to those schools in this provisional status, that if they want us to go through and do an update, that we can do it just so they
Sometimes schools really want you to do the update because it would advantage them, and sometimes they would prefer that you not.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. So that would be great. Thank you, Dave.
But with the ones that are not on the provisional status, but I know that each year there are schools that are dropped off.
Yes.
So that is all verified year to year, right?
Yeah.
At the other levels.
I could have answered it, Ms. Foster. I just didn't want to get a little detail wrong, because it's an important question, and there's real dollars attached to this, and when our community's asking, we want to be able to be accurate.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah, I just have a process question. Amy Redding said that the budget, the proposal being sent to the school advisory committees, and then I'm assuming there is a process by which they work together with their committees, with their teachers and parents, and they put together a proposal. How does that work, and how does it come back up through the DAC and then to staff? What's the process used there?
I believe you mean the school site councils, not the school advisory committees.
I meant school site councils.
Yes, the school site councils are part of the decision-making around the Title I dollars, and we will be releasing budget books the end of January, and we needed to know our forward process on the total allocation through this process here, but that we expect our principals to engage in a community process, that it's the SSC, but it's also the wider community at the school around schools' priorities. Don't, kind of like I model that for our district, that I don't wait for the governor's budget and then decide our priorities. You as a board don't wait to see how much money. We expect this to be an ongoing process where principals are engaging. What are your priorities? Then when the money comes in, then you allocate the resources aligned to those priorities. That is then approved by the SSC. There's documents that need to be signed by the SSC chair, by the principal, submitted to the Office of Accountability.
And then just to follow up, I know we're doing the LCAP and the accountability plan, and I'm wondering how that gets coordinated and a unified school plan as opposed to separate plans.
Okay. You want more detailed answers on that? We can line out for you in a full memo.
Thank you.
All right, so we need to approve the board consent agenda, and let me just say, that it includes the regular minutes from October 14th and a resolution recognizing January 19th, 2015 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So can I have a motion?
I'll move the board consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. All vote. Okay, on to, and that passes unanimously. Woo-woo. Okay, on to operational matters reserved for the board. G1, revised schedule of Public Board of Education meetings, January through June 2015.
So moved.
Okay, let's vote. G2, resolution in the matter of support of federal impact aid funding and urging the U.S. Congress to maintain pre-sequester funding. Beiser and Evans.
I'll move the item G2.
I second.
Okay, I'll vote. District response to Community Advisory Committee on Special Education, semi-annual update to the board. Superintendent Martin. Comedy tonight, comedy.
Martin and Pecos together. Marcos.
That's
Ms.
what
Pecos is coming forward.
Okay, there we go. Superintendent Martin and Pecos.
Sonia Pecos will be joining us up here for this response. We had received our report from the CAC. It's nice to see you here tonight. The response, typically this was a mistake on my part. That night, we probably should have had staff respond right away that night. That's what has happened in the past, and I deferred it to a later time, and so now it's happening at a later time, so I apologize for the lag in that. Ms. Pecos and Dr. Fulcher said they were ready to respond right away. They had already engaged, but I thought for some reason there was a lag in that. So we do have the response to the CAC report and presentation that came forward in December. October, here we are in January. And Dr. Fulcher does send his regards to the board. He is engaging with the Council of Great City Schools Special Education Conference at this point, so he's not in town, but he's left this in Ms. Pecos' capable hands to the response to the CAC presentation, their semi-annual report.
Well, good evening. And like Superintendent Martin said, I think we were ready to respond, but obviously the extra time never hurts, so we appreciate the time. So some of the concerns brought forward from CAC was in the past, some of the Common Core dollars that had been assigned for PLCs and for teachers to acquire this professional development had not in the past been earmarked for special education teachers. Since then, that has changed. As of October 27th, that actually changed, and our special education teachers are now part of those PLCs, which is great. We see this as definitely a time where the Common Core has evened out the playing field for our teachers, so both sets of teachers are able to bring their skill set and really come up with the best instructional strategies for our students. So that matter actually has been resolved, which is great. A second one was increasing the number of locations and classes that are available for our early childhood students. These are our students ages 3 to 5. And in the past, early childhood special education, previously known as SEEK for many of you, really only offered a separate setting. So all students who were eligible for services, we didn't have a continuum of services and were placed in a separate setting. As of 3 years ago, we didn't have any blended classrooms. We've been building those slowly. And I say slowly because it takes efforts and collaboration currently with Robin McCullough from Early Childhood, our current administrator over early childhood special education, Dr. Ira Canada, has been working really hard with Head Start. We're thinking out of the box. We're working with Christiana Trout McPhee, who is our manager over extended learning, to see how we can tap into those already fee-based preschool programs that we have. So definitely our goal is to have a lot more options to where our services for our pre-K students parallel the continuum that we currently offer for our K through 12 students. So it is a work in progress. We would love for it to move at a much quicker rate because we have a lot of students who would benefit from those blended classrooms. This third had to do with the individual transition plans, and currently, I know in the past this has been a point of concern and frustration because we haven't moved at the pace that we want to. So I know that my team has taken this very, very seriously to where the past year, we had done a random sample of ITPs to see where we were at. Yeah, it gave us a glimpse, but not necessarily the immediate feedback we needed to work with school teams. So what our program managers are currently doing is each month, they are actually looking into each one of the IEPs that were held for that month, checking to see if we were compliant. If not, providing that immediate feedback so then they are remedied. So we've currently gone through 3 months of it. I have all the data. It's still not where we need it to be, but at least right now it's in real time. It's being done immediately. The response from principals has been great. I think they know that we're really serious about this because it really transfers into increased outcomes for students. I know when we spoke about this. Yes.
I'm going to add on to that one. This is a very important topic for me personally. I have an older brother who just turned 50, and he lives in, he's just moved back to the community. I've attended hundreds of meetings for his transition plans. When he transitioned out of this district when he was 22 years old, he had attended Hazeltine School, and he's 50 now. And I just had a huge transition meeting for him as he transitioned from a facility in Palm Springs to community-based living here at home. Outcomes for our students are critically important. This is a very important, it's a document. We're not compliant on the document. There aren't boxes that haven't been checked, but beyond that, there's a belief system behind it. So we're engaging, Sonia works with me and the instructional cabinet with our area superintendent so we could tell more of the story of what this document is, what it means to students, what it means for their lives, why it's not just, you're not compliant, you've got to get compliant, but what does it mean for the lives of our students? And each of the check boxes has something important behind it. So we're leading more of the values that go with this form, and there's a reason why we hadn't been compliant. It had to do possibly with not a complete understanding. So I appreciate the CAC's advocacy on this, and you have a voice that has personal experience, but beyond the personal experience, we shouldn't need the superintendent to have personal experience to do what's right. That's what the advisory committee is about, because as parents of students with disabilities, you know how important all of this work is, and transition plans are certainly important in that. So as you said, it's not happening maybe as fast as we want, but you went from a random sampling to now school by school, month by month, and then there's support that comes with that. As I say, for me, compliance is not about a hammer and got you and you're in trouble and you didn't do it. It's about a flashlight for us to get the data and saying, when there's an issue at a school, we want to understand why there's an issue and what we can do to help support so people have a better understanding of this.
And we have amazing stories that the school managers have shared of when it really clicks for teachers what this means for students.
Yes.
And that's when that belief changes, then the practice changes. So it's amazing. And with the opportunity of our new IEP system, which will be hopefully rolling out in the fall, we have built in some of these compliance systems to where we currently don't have them, so where we could run reports at any given time. Okay, school site representation. This area, CAC had expressed their concerns how currently in our SPSAs, there is not a requirement to submit a goal for our students with disabilities. As a department, obviously I agree. I think we should have a goal to support our students with disabilities that focuses on our students with disabilities. And at some sites, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, it's just that it's not required. I think many principals go beyond what is expected of them and do, create a goal. But I think the intention here of CAC is to push for that because it is important. As far as
and just on that note, I would assume that as we're trying to make consistent the single site plans with the LCAP plans, that this issue is being addressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have great representation of CAC at the LCAP, so it's great to see that going on. As far as SSC and representation in SSC, I believe CAC understands that, yes, as a parent, they're able to be a part of, yet one of the responsibilities of SSC members is to reach out to different advisory committees, and that's not happening with CAC. So I think the concern is, how do we ensure that SSC members are reaching out to CAC to ask what is currently going on in matters of students with disabilities, so then that could be brought back to their sites and discussed. So we absolutely agree with that and are working with our research and reporting to see how do we embed that as part of the responsibilities of our SSCs. SDA bargaining, we're in the process, as you all know, and bargaining with SDA, and in Article 29, which is a special education article, SDA had given us some language that to CAC seemed to be, that could be perceived as discriminatory, and I don't think at all it was intended. Because I am part of the bargaining team, I understand we were able to dialogue as to where that language was coming from. Our response to SDA absolutely rectify some of this language to make sure that we're not violating any of the stipulations of IDEA, and this is still a work in progress. I think that, again, that was not the intent, yet sometimes good intentions can go bad.
And it's important to notice that it was proposed language. When we're at bargaining, we have proposals going back and forth, and at one point, the proposal that came across, it could sometimes not be clear that that was simply a proposal and not been accepted. It was just, so you read it out of context. So there was good dialogue at the table, and SDA was very clear that that was not their intent. And once we had the conversation, we're able to clear up and make sure that there's nothing that we would agree to that would be illegal or not right for our students.
Absolutely. So we're still working hard on that. And that's all I had as far as the concerns that were brought forward. I don't know if there are any additional questions or anything.
Yes, board members, are there any questions or comments?
Just I appreciate the response. I mean, it's good that when the advisory group brings something up, they get a very clear and direct response, and I think you have. So thank you.
Thank you.
The hard part for us about the response is we want to be in dialogue and not feel like there's an answer, here's a defensive response, here's a question, it's not about being defensive or no, we did it right, you're not. It's staying in dialogue, and I really appreciate the leadership from the CAC to stay in dialogue with us. They give us very candid feedback, but it's not a catch you or a gotcha, it's a how do we continue to improve, and that's the spirit with which this was prepared, and we want to continue to be in that spirit when we engage our advisory groups, that you can, it's an advisory group, and that input's important, and we put it into the bigger context, not from a defensive stance, but from a continuous improvement point of view.
Not at all. I think we've been very open with CAC. We have a great relationship. We collaborate. I had already gone through this with them, with Mina and Christy, with our chair and vice chair. So, I feel this is just a great collaboration.
You had mentioned the rollout of the new IEP process in the fall. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure.
Is there a pilot program going on? Or?
Yes, so we're currently in the process of developing the timeline of implementation. So the pilot is expected to begin the last week of May, and we have selected schools. I've reached out to principals. They have been tremendously supportive. They want their teachers trained in part of the pilot, and we're planning on training staff in the summer. We didn't want to disrupt the school year, so we thought, okay, let's do training in the summer and then roll out district-wide in the fall.
Okay, and is that a new, how is that different than the process that we do it now?
So currently our contract will be due with Exceed, with Scantron in March, so we had to move to a new system. So if I'm understanding your question, it's still a web-based program.
Right.
It won't be very different. It does offer us the opportunity to update some of our forms, to align ourselves to the CDE requirements, which is great. But other than that, it's pretty much the same business as usual with new forms, new system.
Right. Will it result, in your opinion, in better accountability and compliance with CDE requirements?
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
That question makes me think that we could, I know that I've seen a very clear timeline and process for implementation and phases, and the fact that you're asking the question, we could and update the board on what the timeline for implementation is, so you will know more detail. Thank you, Ms. Picos. That's all you need? Okay. Okay.
I have lots of specific
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Picos.
you, Ms. Picos, and Superintendent Martin.
Dr. Fulcher, if you're watching, wherever you are. Hopefully not.
All right. So we're on to H, District Operations, and item H1 was withdrawn, so we're moving to H2, Resolution.
I'll move item H2.
Okay. Any, okay, we do. Okay, so we have public comment, and so there's Sean Daly, Joan Kude, Katie Wilderson, Lisa Kogan, Karina Ariana, Nicole Peters, Matthew Callaway, Brianne Downing, Melissa Nolan, Jackie Walker, Scott, I don't know if that's an M, an H. H, okay. And Julie Gillis. And you can speak in any order, however, you have 1 minute each. And state your name first, please.
I'm Sharon Daly on the board of Excelsior Academy. Superintendent Martin, President Foster, and esteemed board members, we are here representing Excelsior Academy, a nonprofit private school for students with learning differences. We have been providing the best practices in education for 26 years in San Diego County. Many of these students have come from the San Diego Union School District. Excelsior Academy has been dedicated to and successful in helping all students become productive citizens. Since 1994, we have leased one of your buildings, the former Benchley Elementary School site that you have on your agenda today. Our relationship with your district has been very cordial and a mutually respectful one. As you know, our current school site is on your agenda for a possible sale to raise funds for the San Diego Unified District's potential shortfall. The resolution that states your intention to offer for sale this property has within it a number of requirements that must be met as part of a California Educational Code, Section 17464, before a property can be offered to the public for sale. We have a paper here that we are going to continue reading, so you will hear all of our information. As the following information will show, many of these requirements have not been properly followed.
Okay, thank you. And can you state your name one more time? Because I missed.
Sharon Daly.
Okay. And where'd you live?
Right here.
Yes, my name is Joan Cudahy. I'm on the board with Excelsior Academy also. I'm also a parent of my son, John, who graduated from Excelsior Academy in 2010. I'll continue on with the document. Thank you, President Foster and Superintendent Martin. We appreciate your recognition that Excelsior Academy has a right to make a fair market value offer for the property under the California Education Code 17464, subsections C1 and 2E, which allows 60 days for us to respond. We also understand that the code provides us with certain rights to receive direct written notice of the district's intent to sell the property. We requested in writing such notice on April 7th, April 9th, and June 2nd of 2014. The first written notice that we received on the potential sale of our school site was Ms. Ramos' December 16th letter, 2014, which is attached. This was the first notice of any kind we received from the district. The same letter from Ms. Ramos contains a deadline to submit a fair market value offer by January 5th, 2015.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, 20 days notice.
Can you mention your name?
Scott Hilkeny. Okay. Unfortunately, 20 days notice over a holiday period with district and school closures could not possibly give us enough time to evaluate, consider, and prepare a fair market value offer for the property. This time period is also within the requirements in the California Educational Code 17464, subsection C1 and 2E. On January 8, 2015, Excelsior received an email from Mr. Ramos with a purchase and sale agreement as well as an extension until February 12th. This timeline, again, does not meet the requirements of the California Education Code Section 17464 and does not give us the required amount of time to evaluate the property's fair market value, employ professionals to counsel us on the same, conduct due diligence, seek the necessary funding, and possibly negotiate any specific terms with the district. I know it's going to beep in just a minute.
Okay. State your name. Karina Arana. I'm the principal at Excelsior. Again, this timeline does not give us equal and fair access to the purchasing process as per the Education Code and the 60-day time period. We feel that the 2 letters we have received with deadlines that are not realistic and do not meet the California Education Code 17464 have been an improper attempt at a corrective action to override the fact that the proper process and procedures in order to be able to offer the property for sale to the public have not been followed. We are very interested in exploring the possibility of purchasing the property. To do so, we would need adequate time to evaluate the property's fair market value, employ professionals to counsel us on the same, conduct due diligence, seek the necessary funding, and possibly negotiate any specific terms with the district. In addition, we believe there may be several alternative purchase options that may interest the district, which would require more time to explore. We are respectfully asking that you vote against the resolution of intent to sell the Benchley Elementary School site.
I left off right there. Nicole Peters. From the list of excess properties to be considered for sale to allow a 90-day extension of time for Excelsior to conduct due diligence on the property, doing this will allow Excelsior to have a fair and equal access to the necessary information and to allow the district to enter in good faith decision about the disposition of the property. Please also take into consideration Excelsior's 20-plus year relationship with the district as a reliable tenant and educator of the district's many special needs children, as well as our good faith commitment to working diligently with the district to achieve a mutually beneficial disposition of the property. In summation, we are asking for you to please vote no today for the sale of the Benchley site and to remove this item from your January 13th, 2015 board agenda. I appreciate you allowing me to present our case, and thank you for your time.
Julie Gillis. I just wanted to point out some of the things in the Education Code that were not followed for the sale of this property. 17464 is the code, and it says, first, the property shall be offered for sale or lease pursuant to section 17457.5 to any interested charter school for purposes of providing direct instruction or instructional support. This was not done until December, as you well know. We asked for this knowledge, and we're not given. It was not given to us. Third, the property shall be offered for sale or lease with an option to purchase at fair market value in both of the following ways. Number one, in writing, and to any entity referenced in paragraph 2, which I will get to, that has submitted a written request to the school district to be directly notified of the offer for sale or lease, with an option to purchase the real property by the school district. As you know from the emails that I provided with you this afternoon, we had requested this and did not receive it. Thank you. Can you finish that right there? Just what's in bold.
Katie Willitson, and to nonprofit charitable corporations existing on December 31st, 1979, and organized pursuant to Part 3, commencing with Section 10,200 of Division 2 of Title I of the Corporations Code, then in effect or organized on or after January 1st, 1980, as a public benefit corporation under Part 2, commencing with Section 5110 of Division 2 of Title I of the Corporations Code. Public notice shall consist of at least listing its intention to dispose of the real property in a newspaper of general circulation within the school district, or if there's no newspaper of general circulation in the school district, then any newspaper of general circulation that is regularly circulated in the school district.
Hi, my name is Matt Calloway. I'm the Vice Principal at Excelsior Academy. Our board has had the opportunity to receive a professional evaluation of our property using several different methods. That evaluation came out to be between $1.1 and $1.2 million. I read an article this morning in the Times of San Diego that reported that the San Diego Unified School District values our property at $2 million. I was wondering if you could share how that valuation came to be. And if not, I wonder if the sale of our property would be worth your vote, considering the market valuation of our property so significantly lower than what you expect to earn from this property sale. Thank you.
Brienne Downing. We are a school who has served a unique and special population of students for more than 25 years. Please do not sell our school site, the former Benchley Elementary, without giving us the rightful opportunity per California Education Code to buy the property so we can continue to serve our unique and diverse population of students. Thank you.
Can you tell me, what's your name?
Brienne Downing.
Okay.
Jackie Walker. I would like to go on record as stating I am against the sale of our school, and I'm asking that you also take into consideration the relationship our school have with this district.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Kogan. I'm a teacher at Excelsior Academy. I'm here to represent Excelsior and to support my fellow staff members. I'm against the sale of the school site, and I just want you guys to know that what we do at Excelsior makes a difference in our students' lives every day, and I'm asking you not to sell the school site. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Melissa Nolan. I'm here with my fellow colleagues. Please reconsider selling the school site. The school means a lot to the students, to us, and it would personally be very sad to see it go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make some comments,
please.
if you're ready.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that I have been aware through the years in the community of the great work that has been done by Excelsior with students with some very special needs, and I think that needs to be recognized. And I do think that ultimately, if Excelsior could stay at this particular location and continue to work and so forth, and if there was a way to have that be a win for the district and for the school, I think that would be a great outcome. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things about this whole issue of sale of property, because I've been asked by some reporters today different questions, and sometimes there's a misperception that we are adding new properties up for sale, and that's not the case. 3 years ago, we realized that as Proposition 30 was passing, that there was going to be a gap of about 3 years before the revenues coming in would match our operational expenses. And we decided we were going to bridge that gap, that temporary 3-year gap, with property sales. Otherwise, we would have had to dismantle a lot of programs, cause a lot of disruption. The district hurt our students very much. And then as the additional funds started coming in, next year it looks like we might be able to break barely even, but as the additional funds come in, we could then start improving our programs. But this was to hold us over during that time period. And we're basically in the third year of that period. So one thing we need to realize is that the money from this property and from the other property has already been dedicated to a particular source, because that is part of our 2014-15 budget. I mean, one way of looking at that is there's a large number of teachers who are being paid for with the money that we're getting from these property sales. I think about perhaps 80 or so teachers, which, you know, just if you looked at a 4th grade class or something, it would be potentially affecting about 2,400 students, and we're glad that we were able to have those teachers in the classroom this year. Now, What we are, so when we were talking about this intent to sell, first of all, we need to be very clear, there's been, for a long period of time, we've had our established list of schools that we were going to sell. And Benchley and the other property we're going to discuss today have both been on that list for a considerable period of time. So this is not new. What I think we do at this point, there's a procedural thing where we need to approve the ability to go out and have a public bid on the property. But I would like to ask our General Counsel, Donovan, my understanding is that this bid will take place sometime in the future, in February, about February 18th.
That's correct.
Is there anything in our approving this that would preclude Excelsior Academy from buying this property from us?
No. In fact, there's nothing that would preclude us from continuing negotiations with Excelsior up through and including February 12th, which would be roughly 62 days following the original email notice to them that we were intending to sell that property.
But that still would be a possibility for Excelsior Academy to
Yes, and we have
buy the
invited
property.
that.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other board questions? Thank you for that clarification. Yes.
Well, I totally understand the history and the importance of this item, and that the fact that the direction taken tonight comes from an original recommendation for the property as outlined in the district's property management plan that was approved by the board in January 14th of 2014. We're basically following through with action that was taken in the past. I'm also aware the board's stated intent to not sell property in the future, at least to make that as an intent. But tonight is really following through with a prior decision that future sales may not be contemplated. And while I was not a party to that original agreement, and while I came on the board with stated position that I would not sell school property, but would look for other avenues short of selling property, and I know that the board is in agreement with me on that, but this is following through with past actions with the direction that was taken previously. Because I was not part of that past action, and I do understand the board's position to have to honor this commitment and move forward on this, I also need to honor my position as to stated to not be in a position to sell property and to come as close as we can to raising revenue in other ways. And as a result of that, I will be voting no on this item.
If there are no other board comments or questions, we can go ahead and vote. Okay, that passes 4-1, and we are on to item H3.
I'll move H3.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I don't believe that there are any public comments. No? Okay. Being that there are none, please vote. On to item H4.
Passes 4-1.
All right. If there are no discussions, then let's vote. Should just move the whole thing. H5. H5, Property Inventory and Property Management Plan Annual Update.
I'm just waiting for one more vote on item H4.
It's an easement right away.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. That passes unanimously. On to item H5, Property Inventory and Property Management Plan Annual Update. Superintendent Martin, Dolaroff, Wong, and Fuller.
I'll move the item H5.
Okay.
I'll second, but I'd actually like to hear
Right, I thought, yeah, that's okay.
Just go home.
This is the ACU ESP, the annual reviews of property management plan, and we submit to the board for the approval. It's been reviewed I can invite Mr. Dolgoroff up here to give more background and input, but we reviewed this at the September 26th and October 24th meeting, and the changes from last year's property management plan are best reflected in the attachment. You can see in Exhibit C, and there's more detailed questions Mr. Dolgoroff can answer.
This is just an annual requirement in accordance with Administrative Procedure 3105, and it updates our property management plan.
So we added things like Amici Park got added because that was a change that we made, and Hale Junior High, Mission Beach sites had been removed because of sales, so it's updating what our property plan is.
Correct. All the updates are included in the exhibits A through C.
Do you have more questions? Okay.
It's basically a status report more than a plan?
Yeah.
Okay, I think
that's correct.
Property management status report instead of property management plan.
Yeah, I think we're like making a decision about moving forward or something. Okay.
On to, thank you.
Was there action?
Are there any, okay. Okay.
We have to start.
We'll go ahead and vote, being there's no more comments, okay?
Right.
Okay, on to, I'm really feeling the love up here. I'm really feeling clearly very supported.
Just wait.
So, H6, 2015 policy principles and priorities for San Diego Unified School District.
Thank you.
Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. I think the theme tonight is advocacy, and this is a very, very important guiding document that allows our Director of Government Relations in Sacramento to have a theory of action and a plan that she can follow on a consistent, ongoing basis with the work that she's doing in Sacramento. So we'll say hi to her again. I know she's watching up in Sacramento and help put this together. Her leadership and her vision around having our policy, 2015 policy principles and priorities approved by you. Hopefully you've had a chance to read the areas of concern. We've outlined our mission and the basic principles that are aligned to Martha's ability to advocate at Sacramento. So what you see here is the update on it. You approved one last year. It's basically giving her context within which to work as she's looking for bills to support and things that we might want to sponsor. There's a frame for it that comes from the board collective that's outlined in this document. What you see here is that it's a revised document. We revised it so that it would continue to and better align with our Vision 2020 and with our LCAP. When we put this together last year, the LCAP hadn't been fully developed. We were in that process, so Martha worked with that input, LCAP and Vision 2020, made the continued revisions, and she also engaged staff from across divisions, any recommendations. So this will be brought forward annually. It's not a static document that we just approve our principles and priorities, because what's a priority one year might not be a priority another year in the current context. So you can see the update here and some of the things that guide what we're doing. For example, the unreimbursed mandates, one of our policies and principles, I'm not going to point to it exactly right here because a local authority, there it is that we believe that local authority is important. So when Martha writes advocacy, speaks on behalf of us up in Sacramento, she was able to talk about those mandates and those mandate reimbursements and work with Jenny Salkeld and our finance division, that input there, and really push forward an advocacy agenda that was firmly rooted in the policies and the priorities and principles that are in this document. So this becomes a very important document guiding her work, and we're seeking your approval on it so she can continue to march ahead in the support she has on behalf of our students.
Second.
Okay.
I'll just make a comment. I mean, this is a statement of policies and priorities, but it's not just general language. I mean, it talks about the fact that we are in opposition to, establishment of new categorical programs, flexibility in terms of textbooks, early childhood education. I mean, there's some very, very specific things here about Proposition 98. I think the good thing about it is because Martha Alvarez has gotten to know what our positions are, but having this written down, it really allows her to not have to check with us every time she sees a great opportunity, and as soon as she does, she's going to act on it. So that's great.
Right. Thank you. All vote. That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Martha. for your-
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second. Any public speakers?
No public speakers, so let's vote. Passes unanimously. I have one non-agenda public testimony. Kyle Ranscom.
Raskin.
Thank you, President Foster, Superintendent Martin, distinguished board members. I'm coming here today as an employee of the San Diego Unified School District in the Transportation Department, where I started in 1991. And so when I started, it was a dirt field that had buses on it and 3 trailers. And so I've come here today in support of an open letter that was sent to the governing board by Michael Briette from CSEA, requesting that you guys direct your negotiating team to take a new path with us and seriously consider honoring the language in our existing equity clause. We've had it for quite a while. The drivers that are now driving for you are your long-term employees. We drove the kids when they were in kindergarten, and now we're seeing their kids come to our district to drive them. We've been working for you a long time, and I've not been more proud of my drivers and your drivers than in the last 2 years. They've truly stepped up with the challenges presented to them. They are getting the trips done to Las Vegas. They are getting the out-of-town trips done, even though every school's sending their trips our way now. We've truly stepped up and united, and I just wanted to confirm in that letter where it says that your employees are united in having an equity clause in their contract that's being negotiated right now. I'm here to say, yes, we are. My department is united under that, and your rank and file employees are putting it on the line every day to make sure we get the kids to and from school safely every day. And we know how important this equity clause is, and it's very important to your rank and file. And that's what gets us out of bed every morning, to go do it. The kids, and the fact that we have a contract that has an equity clause in it, that just makes it fair for us to know that we're going to get a fair shake in the end of the day when it comes to money in the district. And that's all we ask. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the public testimony because it helps us to serve all of our employees. It helps us to serve all students, so thank you for that. And now we're just going to adjourn the meeting. Is that okay?
According to the script, we're supposed to finish at 7:09.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow,
All right.
close.
So meeting adjourned.
All right.
Okay.
On this.